Singapore is known to be a safe country with its strict laws and harsh punishments, the last place on a bank robber's mind. But this fairy tale would soon be shattered by a man who robbed a Singapore bank in broad daylight and got away. Back in 2016, a Canadian man named David James Roach entered Singapore via social pass. He devised a plot to rob a bank after arriving in Singapore. He first made reconnaissance excursions to the targeted bank in order to become familiar with the surroundings to ensure a smooth exit. Part of his planning includes shopping for a specific outfit from Bugis Junction that he would wear for the robbery and then discard to avoid detection. It was reported that he stayed at 3 different hostels in the Chinatown area before the day of the robbery. Then, on the fateful day, the 7th of July 2016, he left his hostel dressed in dark pants, a shirt, slippers, and carrying a black haversack. He then changed into his planned robbery getup, which was a grey sweater, a black cap, and shoes, and then proceeded to enter the bank on Holland Avenue. He removed a black sling bag from his haversack and carried it into the bank. And at about 11 AM, Roach approached the bank teller, who was pregnant at that time. He placed his sling bag on the counter and handed her a piece of paper that read, "This is a robbery. I have a gun in my bag." As the woman read the note, Roach had his hand in his bag to give the impression that he was indeed carrying a weapon. She gave him 30,450 Singapore dollars in an envelope, while at the same time pressing the emergency button to get assistance. As Roach was fleeing, the victim then stood up and shouted that Roach had just robbed the bank, and 2 of her co-workers then pursued him but were unable to catch up with him. Roach then changed his clothes and returned to his accommodation by taxi. He then travelled to Changi Airport and then purchased an Air Asia ticket to Bangkok, which departed at about 2:40 PM the same day. Thai authorities informed Singapore police a few days later that Roach had been caught and was charged with bringing more than $20,000 of cash into Thailand. So he pled guilty and was sentenced to 14 months in prison. And on January 10, 2018, he was released and flown to the United Kingdom before heading to Canada the next day. While travelling through the United Kingdom, Roach was detained after the Singapore Police Force requested his arrest, and he was handed over to Singapore after repeated failed attempts to avoid extradition. So on 7 July 2021, exactly 5 years after he robbed the bank, Roach pled guilty in the state courts to charges of robbery and money laundering, and was sentenced to a total of 5 years imprisonment and 6 strokes of the cane. This crime shocked our nation, as no one ever expected a robbery to happen in our fine city. What other Singapore crimes do you remember? Let us know in the comments below.